longtime author and journalist. Her name is B.R. Bates, and her career includes 10 years in the daily newspapers of business, as well as writing and editing work in the corporate, healthcare, ministry, and government sectors. She graduated from the Michigan State University's Accredited School of Journalism. She's the author of numerous books, but she's here today to talk about her works on Michigan true crime. Please welcome B.R. Bates.
All for coming. This is wonderful. So what we have here is the story of two different Michigan serial killers, and they hunted women in Detroit. They have some similarities. They both hunted in Detroit's thriving areas of prostitution, although of course they have a lot of differences too. John Eric Armstrong hunted women on Michigan Avenue, which is a very thriving area of prostitution in Detroit to this day. And then Benjamin Atkins centered his activity on Woodward Avenue in Detroit and Highland Park. He was known to have killed 8 women in Highland Park, in the city of Highland Park, and then 3 women in Detroit south of there, but again, centered on Woodward Avenue. And so 11 women in a time frame that was as short as 6 to 8 months, we figure. We don't know exact timings on when he encountered these women, but when he was arrested in August 1992, and police were unraveling all the details of these murders, they gave him the moniker of the nation's fastest serial killer. So that was an interesting aspect of the Atkins case. Now Armstrong, on the other hand, he was known to have killed 5 people in Detroit on Michigan Avenue. An interesting aspect of his case, though, is that he was known to have attacked 5 others who survived. So you don't always see that kind of ratio with a serial killer. I found in my research that he was interesting in that sometimes it's almost like he stopped himself before he killed someone, and we don't know if that was on purpose, or sometimes he left someone that he thought was dead who survived, and so there's some gray area with him. But the thing that people remember about the Armstrong case is that when he was arrested in April 2000, he started making confessions to not only the Detroit killings, but also to other killings around the country and around the world, because he was traveling with the Navy in the 1990s, from 1992 to about 1998 or 99, actually 98. And so he made confessions to about 10 other murders, and out of those, there was one in Virginia, there were a couple in Washington State, there were a couple in Hawaii, and the one in Virginia was the only one that's actually been corroborated or substantiated with an actual case. The others, there was Singapore and Hong Kong and Thailand and exotic locales where his aircraft carrier, the Nimitz, was ported. So he made all these confessions. We don't know if he committed all of those crimes, but this made it more of national news when he was arrested in April 2000, and people were really talking about it. The New York Times was covering it, CNN was covering it, and so that was something that people remember about this case. So I found the research very fascinating. I am a true crime fan. I will sit there and watch Dateline all day long, or Forensic Files, or anything on the ID Network, or Oxygen. I love all those shows. Especially I love Dateline. My husband and I were watching an episode of that last night, and the thing I love about that is there's no reenactments. Everything's real. So you don't have a filmed with a film scene with actors to reenact. You see everything real, and you see people being interviewed. And then you kind of have to guess who did it sometimes, because they don't really tell you. And you see this person interviewed and that person interviewed, and you realize, that person is missing. They haven't been interviewed. And so sometimes you can kind of figure it out as the episode goes on. But yeah, I'm a true crime fan, and this is not my normal genre to write in. I've been writing in the pop culture genre for most of my career, but I have really enjoyed this. But I will say, before I hand it off to Jerry for the rest of my time, because he's a native son of Battle Creek and I want to give him more time. The part of the research that I enjoyed most was learning about the women who were assaulted by these two killers, because to me, that was the most important part. And so the challenge was finding someone to speak for them. And I put out a lot of requests for contact that I did not get answers for, and I totally understand that, because, you know, who's this lady trying to talk to me about the worst thing that happened to me in my life? You know, my sister, my mom, my daughter. And so that was challenging, but so rewarding, because I learned so much about these females. And, you know, they were living at risk on the street, but they all had lives that started out just like our lives. So that was so meaningful to me. And with that, I'm going to have Jerry come up here. Again, like I said, he's a native son of Battle Creek, and he's had a very distinguished career in law enforcement. He's a hometown guy done good, and he's served with Detroit police at the time of the Armstrong case, and his unit, the Violent Crime Task Force, was responsible for arresting Armstrong.
So Dr. Gerald Cliff is the co-author of the baby doll serial killer, the John Eric Armstrong homicides. He investigated the Armstrong case in April 2000 and was part of the Detroit Police's Interagency Violent Crime Task Force. Please welcome Dr. Gerald Cliff.
I didn't prepare anything, but thank you. None of this would have happened. None of these books would have been written had it not been for Billy Ray. She was a friend of a friend. I had been carrying this file on Armstrong around with me for almost 20 years, planning on writing a book about it. Knew it was something significant, that it would rate a book. Every time I sat down and tried to write, I was writing stuff that sounded like a cop would write it. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I kept putting it off. Finally, I was introduced to Billy Ray, and I had seen some of the books that she'd written, and I said, we got to do this. And it took some talking, and I really had to really push. And finally, we persuaded her to get into it. She's an incredible investigator and an incredible researcher. She turned up stuff we didn't know about the victims mostly. She wanted to bring life to the victims and bring back who they were and show the reader what their life was like. Life on the street in our city is not pretty. Like you said, there's multiple areas of high rates of prostitution, the Cass Corridor, Michigan Avenue, Woodward Avenue. I've worked all three of them. The things that went on in those neighborhoods are, for the most part, not fit for discussion in a mixed crowd, but when we got the case came across our desk, I had just been named as the commanding officer of the Violent Crime Section, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I was kind of nervous. But I knew that I had an incredible unit. The Violent Crime Section is, as was mentioned, an interagency task force. It was designed purposely to be borderless. We had DPD detectives, we had Wayne County Sheriff's detectives, we had Michigan State Police detectives, we had FBI agents, we had IRS agents. This case, we added NCIS agents from Quantico were shipped up to us, and they worked with us, and it was kind of fun in retrospect, but it was nerve-wracking when it was happening. We had the guy in 41 hours from the time that we found his body dump. There were 3 victims, and once that organization and machine went into action, it was something to see. It was really something to see. So,
Thank you, sir. So their books will be at the table right over there. Our next author is an award-winning and best-selling writer and veteran editor with a deep